Welcome to the inaugural episode of a new podcast called Outernational. I'm Amirtha. I'm the host of this podcast, and the idea of Outernational is it's a term from the composer, the amazing Japanese composer Ryuichi Sakamoto, who is interested in obliterating borders. So the idea of this podcast is really, it's about the role of music in revolutionary times, especially in these times and historically, but it's also about building global solidarity. So this idea of Outernational is like that, we are all connected through various struggles. And I also think about it in terms of music, like we are obliterating borders, not only socially or politically, but also musically. And a lot of the people I'm going to be talking to are border smashers, So that's the idea of this podcast. And also musicians who are not only brilliant artists, but also doing things in their community, organizing, bringing that energy to the stage. And I'm here today. I'm at Pioneer Works in Red Hook, Brooklyn on April 28th, 2025 with the honorable and fierce Angel Bat Dawid, a musician who I've very much long admired. Are you in Chicago right now, Angel?
I am. I'm right here in Chicago in my studio.
Amazing. And Angel, if you don't know Angel, you need to know Angel. Angel is a composer, improviser, clarinettist, pianist, electronic musician, synthesizer player, vocalist, bandleader, organizer, educator. I don't know. What did I leave out? DJ.
If I like something, I want to do it. So I like
absolutely,
a lot of things,
Absolutely. You're a DJ too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
What's your DJ name?
Angel Bat Dawid still.
That's
it's all
when
the same thing. It's all, whatever I approach, whatever medium I approach it the same way.
Absolutely.
Literally, yeah.
Also, when you got a name that strong, you don't gotta have a DJ name. And you're the band leader of Angel Bat Dawid and the Brotherhood, Sistazz of the Nitty Gritty. You've worked with Damon, Black Monument Ensemble, and so many. We're gonna be here all day if we talk about everything you've done. But
that's too. I've played with Amirtha.
That's true. That's true.
I've done that. That's pretty big, I would say.
Oh my God. I'm so glad. Yeah, we recently got to play together in Chicago, and I definitely want to get into that and the space, but just for people, because I want this to be something people even outside of our scene could access. Like for people who are not familiar with your work, can you tell me a little bit about your musical background and your musical practice, how you see it?
Sure. Yeah. Well, my background, music has just always been so important to me. Like I can't think of a time in my life that it wasn't there. And my earliest memories of music were in the church, of course. I grew up in a very religious home. I come from 7 generations of ministers, preachers, and teachers. And so I do believe that there's a calling, or the way I look at what I do is more like a ministry. In a non-traditional sense. You talk about borders and all that kind of things. I got the call, just like everyone in my family, to be some type of minister. And I at times thought, well, maybe I need to go through this religion or this church. And the thing about the calling goes beyond those things. Religions and spirituality, those are just things to help aid us in this pathway that we're on. But I definitely got the call for the ministry very young. One of my earliest memories was I was born in Georgia. My parents met in Georgia, and my dad used to attend, he was a young minister at the time, a church by the Reverend C.J. Johnson, who these were these old Black churches that did not use instruments. They just stomped and clapped.
Right. Is that because it was actually like instruments were banned in Georgia? Because I know in New Orleans there was kind of a different pattern with the French. They were allowed to use instruments, but I remember reading at some point that they actually were not allowed to use instruments in the times during slavery.
I think
Is that part of it?
I actually need to do a little bit more research, because you're probably right about that. It was that. It's also access to instruments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, just, I mean, you're enslaved.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
like, you're not gonna have access to any instruments or anything like that. But that didn't stop the music from still coming. People weren't even allowed to use drums,
Yeah.
And so you have these old churches where all they do is stomp and clap, and then that's where all of these songs would come out. And what most people don't realize is that if you listen to any music that came from enslaved Black people in any way, whether it's hip hop, gospel, these are beyond genres. The roots of it started with that. And we call those traditional songs spirituals. So I was kind of baptized in the spirituals very, very young, because my dad was taking us to that church. And for whatever reason, I remember my youth. Like, I remember crawling and things. Like, I don't know why. People say they don't remember when I do. I remember being passed around.
You were fully formed.
I was like,
you were ready to go.
The thing about it is, like, I feel like that's a lie that when, you're not going to be able to remember. Yes, you can. You can access anything in your mind. And I do remember being passed around by these people kissing me on the cheek and holding me and hearing these sounds. And because my father loves music so much, even though he's a minister, he always had music collections in the house. So I was very, very blessed to have a dad who had all kinds of music in the house for me to sneak and listen to. And you're hearing all this stuff. But I think the most prominent memory of my youth was when he took us to go see Amadeus. The music from Mozart was like hit my soul. And it's so funny because I'm so Black, pro-Black, militant, but literally it was this white composer.
I mean, he was a rebel in his own time, in his own ways.
He was a rebel. And I think that's something too that I always was like, knew that I was going to be an artist who may not be conventional, because I was always attracted to artists like Mozart, who was like, fuck all y'all, I'm finna do the music I want. And it just seemed like the creatives who did the music, who were just fully themselves, no matter what system they were in, they just were like, I'm going to be me. I was always attracted to those. So you're right. Maybe it's not so like me portraying, like turning in my Black card that, my first instance of music was really Mozart and classical music. And my love for classical music started very young. Like, I had a thirst for it. I would go to the library and listen to hours and hours of it because it would take me someplace. And when you're that young, like, but that movie came out in 84. I must have been like 4 or 5 years old. But I can remember the strings and all that. And I was like, wow. And then there's a scene in there where Mozart's like on his deathbed, and Salieri, his arch nemesis, who's also his biggest fan, is like, because he knows he's the real deal, is like notating because Mozart can't do it anymore because he's sick. And I just remember that scene like, wow, I would love to be able to just write and compose music. I think that's when my thirst for composition started. So I definitely started studying all the classics, and I did that for a while. Like, even when I learned piano and clarinet at 11, my goal was like, I want to be a classical musician. I want to be in orchestras. I want to be composing music. I just had a thirst of it, but I was also a little Black girl. Okay. And so like the opportunities, the lack of support just was not there. For me to be here, this is because of my own thirst, because this is my own, like, I wanted to do it because if I didn't have really a lot of support. Of course, my parents always supported whatever I wanted to do. They were always like, they wanted us in arts and stuff like that. So I never got that from my parents, but like, being at school, I was definitely always overlooked. No one paid any attention to me. That's why it's kind of crazy right now getting all this kind of, garnishing all this attention, because most of my musical career, I was like, I had friends who didn't even know I played music. They're like, wait, Angel, you're a musician? I'm like, yeah.
That's wild to me.
You didn't see this piano in my, y'all thought I was just fucking around in my house? I have a whole studio in my house. It's like, no one believed me. But I almost think it was a great protection because I got to live a normal life, I think it's important as creatives that you live a normal life first before you go and try to do this music. Like, know what it's like to work a 9 to 5 that you hate, that you clock in hours and vacation days. I learned a lot of skills in the interim. But the thing is, I never let go of my art. Like, even when I was doing my regular 9 to 5 and all that kind of stuff, living my life, making money, I never was satisfied with that. I was like, I have to do what I love. So that's just like my journey in a nutshell.
No, but it's amazing. I mean, it's like, I think this institutions and the systems definitely do not support. It's funny because they push European classical music on you, right? Like, I was sort of self-taught or community taught by, through my spiritual community, very similarly through kind of Hindu devotional music, and then ended up going to college at a place that just the default was classical music. So they push it on you, but then as a person of color, you have no support in that. Like, I always think about Nina Simone, or even Miles Davis, or like, they're classically trained. And of course, in Nina Simone's case, she's a pianist, classically trained pianist. And of course, they kind of push her to sing and push her away from classical music. But then she finds her own way to bring that into her work. And I'm kind of curious, like, how did you get then from there to improvisation? And like, was there a kind of a social pressure, and how, like, then how did you integrate all of that into your practice?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question, and you covered a lot of stuff, and I'm glad you brought up Nina Simone, because they do that to her. They always make her like this mother goddess figure, and she wasn't that. Like, when I see Nina on stage, I see a person who does not give a flying fuck.
Absolutely.
Like, she's like, look,
revolutionary.
I'm going to get up on this stage and do whatever the fuck I want. And honestly, she gave me a lot of permission to be that way. Like, Nina gives us women that permission to, like, look, I'm not finna touch a fucking note on this here. I'm not about to sing nothing until I'm ready. And I'm going to say whatever I want. Now, here's the thing about the time period she was in. She was in a more dangerous time period than me. Like, I have the agency now to say whatever the fuck I want. No one's going to do anything to me. You can't. I got all these human rights, and you better not.
I mean, it's getting a little dicey now.
I know it is. But, it's like, the thing that the two generations before us had, they really had, like, fucking, I mean, you couldn't go down south. Somebody might lynch you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, life or death. And so for her to have the courage and be like, to use her platform and the stage for her to voice her I hate this. And she knew that channeling it through her art was the only way to survive living in it. Yeah. And that's what Nina does for me. And that's whenever I go on stage and I feel that I have permission to do that for her. And she wants us to do that. Mm-hmm. She wants us, like, no, don't leave your emotions. And if you're mad, if you're angry, if you're sad, whatever, don't leave it off the stage. Bring it on the stage. That's the place where you have true freedom, because nobody's going to go up there and fuck with you, especially now. Everybody's pussies now. I'm sorry, I'm cursing. But listen, motherfuckers are pussies now. Take advantage of it. Meaning, like, if you go, they're going to be scared of you. And I do use that.
I've seen you do it. I've seen
No, you're going to do what I say, because what are you going to do? You're going to come up on this stage and stop me? No, you're the fuck not. Because if you come up on this stage and stop me, I'm going to go out in the audience and make more sounds and more music. You're not going to stop me from playing music. I can play music anytime I want. Like, when you walk with that agency. So I'm glad you brought her up. But when you talk about the transition from, the first part of my life, I wasn't like that as a musician. Mm-hmm. That came, that's only been like the past 10 years.
Wow.
Before that, I grew up, because of my thirst for music and creativity. When you're a creative person, at times it can be a lonely road, because people don't understand, people who are not really in the creative realm, the society has put it into the realm of, like, that's a hobby or an elective. Mm-hmm. No, you need to be doing this in order to make money, give up on your dreams, pipe dreams. I was blessed not to have parents like that. I didn't grow up in a household like that, but I hear stories. But when you're in that realm of thinking of music as a hobby or an elective, people don't really take you seriously. Mm-hmm. And so I struggled with that, trying to get into these respectability politics. I never fit into them. I tried. I was like, well, I'm going to be like, everyone else. And I'm like, but I'm not. And so I think around the age of 12 or 13, that's when I couldn't fit in with the cool kids. They wasn't meshing with me. And I was having a hard time making friends. And then not only were they not meshing with me, I was getting bullied. And I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I was very much I love my parents because they kept us children. They really preserved our innocence for a long time. I'm cursing now. I learned, I curse because I listen to a lot of hip hop. That's where I learned how to curse. Hip hop taught me how to curse because I did not grow up in a household where there was cursing. Whenever there was films, movies, and shows we were not allowed to watch. That also made me peculiar too, because people, kids in class can watch all kinds of stuff. My parents very much censored us. I never saw my mother dress any provocative way. My mother was always covered. Like, I grew up in a very conservative household, which made me feel very safe. And so, when you were in that realm, and then you go into like the realm where other kids are, and they talking about very adult things, I was like, what are you talking about? What's a dick? What's a I don't know what that is. I didn't know. I'm still playing with dolls, and I'm 12 or 13. And I realized, like, well, what? I'm not going to really fit in with these people. So you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to be me. And I was like, I remember intentionally being like, I'm going to open up my ear palette, because my dad had all this music. He had everything from Funkadelic to Led Zeppelin to Steely Dan to classical music. I mean, and he had a really great collection. I used to go in and just listen to whatever. And then that's when I got hooked, because during that time period, when you're in your adolescence and your body's changing, your self-esteem's getting murdered, and your parents don't seem like they understand you. You don't understand, like, a whole bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
That music was saving me. Like, that's why, when you talk about me being a DJ, I think that's where, like, me naturally being a DJ happened, because I think if my dad wasn't a minister, he probably would be a DJ, because that was his thing. Like, he would like burn CDs with playlists. Like, he would be really into it. And in fact, I have tons of them. He was throw them away. I kept any little CD that I saw of one of my dad's little playlists. I have them, because I want them for the archives, and they're always good, because he had such a great collection from jazz to everything. And so I think that's where my putting music in order, I didn't know that was called DJing until I started working at a record store. And I was like, oh, this is all this is? I got cuts. You're supposed to find the end. And I got cuts because I listened to a lot of music. But the transition from, being in this rigid classical realm, which I'm grateful for, because I like discipline. And, because I was a kid who stayed at home, my parents wouldn't let us go outside, hang out with everybody. That was like my video game. Getting some new sheet music. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to piano. This is like learning some new stuff. Or I would beg my mom to get me sheet music. Like I said, the Mozart really touched me. I wanted to be like Mozart, who's a multiple instrumentalist, and he was a child. And I'm like, I'm a kid. I can do that too. Yeah. And so the clarinet and piano, I started learning. I was in band, and I loved it. A lot of people talk about, I don't necessarily think Western classical music is hard or challenging. That's the thing. And I think that the people who teach it make it seem like, oh, it's this high art and only these certain people. It's very easy to me. Okay.
You just do what it says on the page, right?
Hold on, I'm keeping recording here. Sorry. It's very easy to me. And I also wanted to be very proficient in it. So like, I've studied sonata form and compositional structure. I actually love composing. Music theory isn't hard. It's the damn motherfucking teachers who teach it, make it complicated and hard, and they do that on purpose. They want to ostracize me. Like, I don't know how to play your easy ass notation system. It's easy as fuck. And I'm really tired of like also people just like avoiding to try to learn it. People be like, oh, I don't want to. Why not? Why not learn how to read music? Just do it. If you learn your ABCs, music is actually easier. It's only 7 letters. A, B, C, D, F, G. That's it. Like, but it's not complicated. And then when you take off the brackets, and that's what I'm doing now, like as a teacher, to talk about community art and everything. Well, before we get to that. You talked about my transition. Transition happened because I was very rigid. I prided myself in being able to play all my scales, I prided myself in it. What I didn't pride myself was like, if you took the sheet music away, could I just play? my ear. You know, I thought, well, maybe that's just a natural gift. And like, no, the first thing that everybody can play by ear. That's what aids you into reading music, you know? And so I didn't get into that until about 2014, which was the year that I jumped off the cliff to be a full-time musician. I gave myself 1 year. I had some savings from a 401k, the bullshit job I had. I was like, you know what? I'm going to live off this savings for a year. If this doesn't work, I'll just get a job, because that's one thing I do know how to do. I know how to get a job. Like, I know how to get a regular fucking job. That's easy.
Yeah, some people do not.
Yeah, you got to know how to. Actually, I learned how to do it. That's what I'm saying. Everything I do wasn't some kind of natural gift. No, I actually taught myself. Like, I rigidly, like, I haven't been unemployed only for a few times in my life. And when I was like really looking for a job, I made that my job. Like, I was getting up like 8 hours a day. I'm like, I'm finna email 100 places. Somebody gonna holler me. And with that, I had to like, well, how do I improve my interviewing? And I did research on it. So like everything that you see that I do is I studied for it. It's so that's how I learned how to get a job. It wasn't natural. But that year, I was like, I'm gonna take a year and I'm gonna say yes to all the things I would normally say no to because I had to work. And it worked. It worked, you know. 2-3 years later on the line, that's when because I was saying yes to things, I was going to all these jam sessions here in Chicago. And Chicago is where I really learned how to play free music. You know, I'm not originally from here, but I've been here since I was a teenager. Went to college here, did all my classical training and theory and stuff. But it was only until then that I came to all these jam sessions. And it was the 50th anniversary for the Association for the AACM, which is the
Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians, yeah,
which is based here in Chicago. And look, I'm in my 30s, and this is my first time ever hearing about them. And
wow, it's so crazy because as we know your music, or as maybe listeners know your music, it's like I can't. It's like hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that you're saying that was just a little over a decade ago that you were getting exposed to, because it almost feels synonymous. Just for the listeners, because I was going to ask you about the AACM anyway. If you don't know who the AACM was, they were a collective of composers, performers, improvisers. That's all hyphenated because they all kind of did everything, right? They were Black. They placed a high priority on original music, and they were what for me was so interesting. And they were sort of also for me like a touchstone moment. I think I probably was more exposed to them maybe like when I started grad school, like somewhere around 2009. I knew about Anthony Braxton, but I didn't know about their philosophy, and I read George Lewis's book. But they were modeling their composer, performer, improviser collective on the Black Panther Party. And I thought that was just like, because they had education initiatives, they had nutrition and food and free food initiatives in Chicago. So yeah, I mean, I'll let you continue with the AACM, because I think they're such an interesting, not just musical group, but so like philosophy of being and how, what was it the AACM? This is a question, this is all related, that I'm kind of asking everybody, is sort of what radicalized you, or what music, was there a moment that just like shaped your worldview differently, that suddenly you're like, oh, yeah, like shit, this is actually the path, or this is what music can do, or how you see the world? But maybe these things are related. But can continue on the AACM, but I just want to give some context for them.
Thank you for giving that context, because they're such a very important organization to me and for me, and what it brought to me musically is, oh goodness, I can't even thank them enough for just existing, because it was George Lewis' book for Power Stronger Than Itself, just that title alone. Oof. And I was doing jam sessions around the city. I was saying yes to all the jam sessions. I was like, I'm gonna go, and I was afraid. I was very fearful, because I read music. I didn't know how to improvise, or I didn't think I knew how to improvise. I'm like, what key is it in? Like, can you tell me what note, what structure? It's terrifying, because you hear them stories. Like, I hate that movie Whiplash. I fucking hate that movie.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like, I don't know what that is. That ain't no jazz. But when you think of jazz and going into jam, you think of that there's gonna be some old person. And let me tell you, I have had that too. Not as bad as him, but you will get your ass toe up if you ain't ready. you know, and that's important too, because that means like go back and get better and come back again, you know. So you will get that from some of the old heads, especially in more like the end scene. But I was ready for it all because I knew I could play. Like at the end of the fucking day, no matter what you think about me, I can motherfucking play. And I'm not saying that in a boastful way. I'm saying that like I studied to be able to play whatever I want, whether you put the music in front of me, you take the music away. But I knew I was lacking in that one part. So I was like, I got to get stronger and be able to ear out music and be an improvisationer. So I started going to these jam sessions, particularly one by an artist here named David Boykin. He's an incredible mentor to me. And
I've read some of his writing too on improvisation. He's incredible. And spirituality.
And I met him like that year, 2014, and I divinely, that was their 50th anniversary. So there were concerts going on all around the city. So as I'm reading this book, and it's so funny, this white man gave it actually. The story is he let me borrow it, and after I read it, I was like, I'm not giving you this shit back. I'm taking it. Yeah. You don't need this in your library.
I own this now.
He would be coming up to me all the time like, yo, Angel, can I get my book? I'm like, oh, yeah, nah.
Yeah, no.
He's like, wait, you're not going to give it back to me? I'm like, no. But it's my book.
That's amazing.
Like, I'm just not going to do that.
It's
like, I just don't justify it because I'm like, I'm not going to give you back the book back.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I think I actually also stole my Power Stronger Than Itself from my white roommate who was a jazz student at the new school.
I'm taking this.
That's really funny. I think I borrowed it from her when we were roommates. She was studying jazz at the new school. And I was just like,
you don't need that shit.
I'm keeping this.
That was for us.
But it's interesting, like this idea of discipline, because like, I mean, Chicago is such. I mean, Sun Ra talked a lot about discipline.
Like Sun Ra was probably maybe the first time I actually really saw improvised music, but didn't know that it was because my dad had Sun Ra and Pharaoh Sanders and all those deep jazz, spiritual, quote unquote, spiritual jazz musicians in his collection. And I saw Space as a Place when I was like 12 or 13. My dad also loves movies and films. So like that was like the crux of our family time was music and films. And he showed us Space as a Place, and we were like, I was just like, what are they doing? I never seen. So I think my first like bite of like, oh, there's this other music that they're not, what are they doing? It just seems so complicated and so it's more advanced than anything I was doing. That's what I'm saying. Like written music and Western music, let's stop thinking that it's more advanced than improvised. No. It's child's play. That's like reading Dr. Seuss. You know,
and that's colonialism.
Improvised
right?
music is like you get. We in the dissertations now, and the treaties. You know.
But it's funny because that's the ideology of colonialism and white supremacy. Because even classical music, improvisation was a huge part of the classical. Like Mozart improvised, Beethoven improvised until like 1800, and it's really like at the height of colonialism that they start and capitalism because of publishing that they start to codify it.
There we go. Keyword. When the money starts coming.
Exactly.
That's when everything starts getting funny. Give a man money, watch him act funny.
Right. And so it's interesting, like, that ideology of like, oh, this is a primitive or not advanced and this European form is advanced. Like, I think Sun Ra, like, it's talking about discipline. He was somebody who advocated for discipline. I also think about even like the Black Panthers and the AACM. It's this idea of like self-determination. So like so much of what you're saying of like self-defense, self-determination, like you are going to organize in your community to learn, to educate yourself. Like they were reading Marx and Lenin and Mao and doing all, like they were educating themselves.
This music is accompanied with all of that.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about my DJ experience, that was working at a record store on the south side of Chicago. So for people who are not familiar with Chicago, Chicago is a very, very segregated city. And, you know, when we use the word segregated, people automatically think negative. There are negative things about that complexity, but there's also these other things that happen when you have Black people all isolated on one side, on the south side, on the west side, and pockets of us here. And that's actually just a caveat a little bit. I was commissioned by a Black string ensemble here in Chicago by the name of Decomposed. to score a piece. And I actually composed a piece which we're going to premiere here in Chicago very soon, called Black Metropolis, that I wrote pieces for each side of the South Side of Chicago, in just thinking of how I think that's why like AACM could exist only here, because there's also this protection when you're segregated. There's also like some of this stuff gotta be secret and not exposed, because when you expose it, then you dilute the true essence of it. So a lot of my work, you know, I play with white musicians and other cultures. I'm gonna be particular, white, okay, Western, because they don't know they carry racism. Most of them don't. A lot of white people are I'm not talking about personalities, but white people, y'all carry racism. Okay, it's like a disease. So even when you're not trying to bring it, you bring it. You don't even know you're doing it most of the time. So there's times where artists of color, we need to be isolated from you. So a lot of my works are gonna be very much about Black narratives and Black things, and I won't be including you in that. If you are included, like I got a commission for a festival coming up with a wind ensemble, and it's multicultural and there's white people. So I'm like, well, what do I do with my stance of like, I don't really want a lot of white people playing my music, especially if I'm doing narratives of Black consciousness, and y'all are going to secretly be bringing your racism. You don't even know you're bringing it, you know? And sometimes it's not even if you not personally, you're unconscious of it. Your ancestors gave it to you. Racism doesn't belong to any other race but Europeans. That's y'all shit. That's your shit to figure out, not us to figure out how you can fix it. I don't know how to fix it. But what I do know what to do is say, hey, your racism is making me uncomfortable. I can say that. And
you
I
have
can
the
write
power.
that.
And that's
Yes.
something that I admire so much about what you're doing. It's like you're very clear about what you want for your art, and you're going to be specific about that. You're like, I don't care if your feelings are hurt. And it's like you're saying, it's like Toni Morrison, I think, said that about racism. Like, it's just as harmful to the oppressor. It's just as harmful to white people if they can think of it that way. It's a disease, and it's not good for the person who is harboring that white supremacy deep inside them either, you know. But I wonder,
it's really ancestral. You know what I mean? Like
in the same way our trauma.
You know, there's gonna be times, because this situation is very messy, toxic, and old. There are gonna be times that you're going to trigger something in me. I'm gonna feel something from you, and you don't even know you doing it. Okay. Yeah. And then when I'm like triggered and I'll be like, look, I don't want to be around you, you're going to take it personally, which then it makes it all about you again. And then I have to clean your tears and all. All I know right now to do is that if I'm uncomfortable, I have the right to say it. And I have an uncomfortability of white people and not all BIPOC people though, you know, like, you know, we BIPOC. I know you're in it, but we cool because we know what it's like to be in the realm of Western civilization. If you're non-Black, Asian, whatever.
Although I have to say, on behalf of some of my people who I've found, people of color can absolutely have internalized white supremacy, and I've seen it in the South Asian community.
You know what?
You know, we got to work on anti-Blackness too. But this actually it leads me to another kind of question, because we do think a lot about identity. Identity is so super important, but I'm kind of more interested in how has your identity impacted, like has either been a point of tension in your work as a musician or as an organizer or as an educator, but also a place of joy and liberation. You're already kind of getting at all of these things, because it's not always that your identity is just that you're being oppressed, but also that it's a space of joy and liberation. But as you've moved through your music career, have there been instances where being a woman, being Black, like have just been like clear, you can see like this is people are seeing me this way or treating me this particular way? Like, how does it manifest in your career or in musical spaces or institutions? I know that's a big question.
I mean, the thing is, there's no separation. It's always there. You know, people think that like, oh, I'm just bringing it up now. No, it's running right now as we speak.
Yeah.
The older I get, the longer I live, the more it's, you know, oppression ain't really the word. It's more like uncomfortable. Like, I don't like it here. You know, I'm trying to just live my life and not have to think about stuff, but like, it's in everything. You know, it's like you live in shit all day. And just because we got used to the smell, it's still shit. And so there's a constant, like, I have to bring Lysol. I got to clean myself. I got to rinse my mind all the time, every day, of white supremacy, of things like that. And I also want to clarify, you will see me play with white musicians. Yeah. Let's say a white composer come to me and say, hey, Angel, what you playing with? Oh, yeah, come on. I'll be like, let's go. I was just on tour in January with French musicians. And it was a great cultural exchange. But me specifically, my compositions and the work and the research that I'm doing, I need isolated Blackness. I need people who know what it's like to be embedded in white supremacy all day, every day at some point. And yeah, not saying the Black community is perfect or any, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, we share a common goal of like, hey, we want to separate from anything that's white. Like, for instance, because of my hair, my nose, my lips and things like that, I don't have the default button to be white, okay? Now your culture, right? You can have your culture, right? Let's say you don't want to have anything to do with your culture. You can go default, then what culture would you be? You could go default white. You know what I mean? Because you got the same hair. Y'all can be like, hey, we can talk the same. I can go to the same schools and education. If you didn't want to be a part of your culture. It's a little tougher being Black. I can't do default white ever. I can never do, and when we do it, we're like tokenism, or, you know, you'll be like the single. I never wanted to do that. And I'm not saying either or is good or bad or anything. I'm just explaining the nature of where we are and what I'm thinking. Now, is what I'm thinking right or wrong? I'm just telling you how I feel. Like, it feels like that to me, whether that's what it is or not. And I'm taking it a step further to say that what I feel is valid. Meaning that's just what I feel. Is it right or wrong? Do you disagree with it? Probably. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I need for Black people in particular to know that it's okay, that the way you feel, it's valid. Does it mean it's right or wrong? Is it even true? No, I feel that way though. And that's enough. That's what I'm interested in, is centering Black feelings, centering my perspective in this art. So when I'm a musician and a creative, you know, and I prided myself as a child. I was a child who had friends of every race and I prided myself with that. I loved it. I was like, I got Indian friend, I got Asian friend, I got Black friend. I prided. In fact, one time, a new school I was at, there was these two Vietnamese girls, and there was a time in my life where like nobody was trying to be my friend. I was ostracized and I was lonely. And I would sit at the table with these two Vietnamese girls, and they didn't even speak English. And I would just sit there, eat lunch with them, and pretend like I was their friends. And I just felt in my spirit to be like, why is this girl sitting with us? I know that's what they were thinking, but I didn't care. And I did that all year because I was so interested in different cultures. In fact, I lived overseas for 4 years in my youth. That's what really opened.
Oh, yeah. I was curious about that. Was that in Kenya?
Yeah, I lived in Kenya for 4 years. My parents were missionaries. And you want to talk about like the dynamic of that. Okay, so my parents are Southern Baptist missionaries sent to Africa to convert Africans to Christianity. Wow. And there were Southern Baptist people who are racist to them.
Oh my God.
They're racist to my parents.
Wow.
The dynamic of just hearing the frustration of my dad being a minister with Southern Baptists, and they're treating my mom and dad like shit. That's where I learned early on that, you know, white people carry racism. They just carry it with them. You know, stop y'all being all ashamed of it. It's not your fault. You want to talk about a system that's been around for a very long time and it's so ingrained in you that you can't even see it. You know, but guess what? I'm here to tell you when it happens. Yeah. I don't care how you respond, but when a Black person or anybody tells you, hey, I don't like the way what's going on for whatever reason, you need to be like, you know what? I probably did that shit because I'm caught up in this too. You know, it's not, because that's the only way. See, I bring it up not to destroy. I bring it up so that we can deal with it. That there's times where Black people get in spaces and white folk, y'all make us uncomfortable. There's nothing you can do about it.
I when we played at Constellation in Chicago last year, I remember, you know, you played before my band and you kind of set the tone, I felt, for the whole evening. But you were kind of, you know, you were giving it to the audience. It was quite a white audience, and which is, you know
what I mean? I feel like it's like uncomfortable. Okay, there's an essay by Langston Hughes that I love. If you can look it up, it's called "When the Negro Was in Vogue." I love Langston Hughes because, once again, these elders and these ancestors, they were saying this shit in a harder time than me. Okay. And he's writing very frankly about how uncomfortable he felt with white people coming down to Harlem to hear this new exciting sound coming from the little Negroes. And he said they would come down there and they would just stare at them. You know, and that's how it be feeling, like you just looking at me, staring at me, you want to see me do this thing that you're fascinated, and you're just looking at us. It's almost like you want to eat us or consume us.
Yeah.
You don't know that you're doing that, and I don't know how to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, but when y'all do that, I don't like it. So that does that mean that you can't come and enjoy and admire Black people's music? Because I know you're coming out there out of admiration, but there's also this energy that I'm like, go away. Like, stop looking at me like I'm doing something so odd and peculiar and I don't understand it. And then you try to write about it. Stop trying to write about jazz. In fact, I had a young man, bless his heart. He's a young scholar from Miami University, and he's writing a book on jazz. Another white boy trying to write about jazz, and he ain't never been to a Black church. That's the fucking shit that heal me. You want to write about jazz, you want to talk about it, you want to talk about all this stuff, but you don't even want to be spiritual. This music is tied to a culture and it's tied to a spirituality. And so, yeah, sometimes you're going to come in and I'm like not going to be liking it. You know, you want to write about jazz, not telling right now, I don't approve of your book. Okay? Write this down in your book. That there is a musician who says, I don't approve of this.
No.
Because please write this down so that at least they know there's some musicians who don't like this. You know?
But
is he going to continue to write that book? Of course he is.
But I think that's powerful that you're doing that. And this is something for me that, like, improvisation is also about having agency, right? It's about having your voice and expressing yourself and putting yourself forward. And it's like, it doesn't always work, you know, or like there can be discomfort, right? When you're saying something like this to a white audience, I also like have this experience. I do it in a more like maybe teachery way. But I talked to a bunch of Belgians about, you know, we were in Ghent and I was like, wow, your city is so beautiful. You know, it's so wealthy and beautiful.
Look at y'all
and exactly. And there was
Come
a
on.
crest on the back wall that said, it said Belgium on one side and it said Congo on the other. And I said to the audience, you know, your city's real beautiful because of...
It makes me uncomfortable. And so instead of looking at it as this thing, like I'm trying to get it to people or read the audience, I'm literally telling you that these are the thoughts that come through my mind that may never come through yours. And I'm not saying it for you to change. You can continue on, because guess what? You are going to continue on. You're going to get up the next day, dang, Angel said the truth. She was so right about that. But what can you do about it? You can't do anything. Okay?
But
because the powers that be are old white men. Now, let me tell you what we can do, because I know we're about to wrap up. I'm going to tell you what we can do.
God, I have so many more questions for you, but please tell me that.
Let me tell
I do
you
want to ask you a
we
bit
do.
about your work.
Let me tell you what we need to do, okay?
Yes.
Let me tell you what we need to do. All these old white motherfuckers who run the world right now, keyword, they're fucking old. Y'all just sit back. They're going to die one day, okay? They're going to die very soon. They don't look healthy. They don't know how to live long. So give them a few more years. And while we're waiting for their asses to die, you be ready.
Be ready.
You be ready.
I think
and the way
that's
to be ready is don't fuck around with us. Get the shorties. Be in the schools. And white people, stop trying to think that you can go and teach Black children. You can't.
Yes.
If you want to help Black children, make sure that there are Black teachers there. And I have worked with some allies like that. I have worked with white allies. There's Kate Wash at Old Town School of Folk. I'm going to shout her out. And there was another young white man. And he was like, look, I'm in this position, Angel, to get you here. And then I'm out. Okay? Because I can't do nothing here. But you can. So if you want to be an ally to black women, white women, let me tell you what you can do. When I feel unsafe, you scream. Because when I scream, they ain't going to come. They're not. But they see a little white girl screaming. That's how you use your privilege. Okay?
Yes.
That's how you use it. This is the only way if we want to work together, this is what we're going to have to do. When you see a black family, that's why I have my song Black. This is one you play on the show, is Black Family. Because I intentionally made that song as an affirmation. And I tested the waters. And I began to see how it made people uncomfortable when I said the black family is the strongest institution in the world. This is the first time I spoke out on my album, the live album, the Oracle album. And I did Black Family Live. I was treated like bullshit the first time I went to Europe.
Yeah.
Talking to me crazy at Berlin Jazz Festival. And you're going to treat black people like that. And that was like the first time that like I expressed myself on stage in this way. And that was the first time that I had the Brotherhood together. Because my drummer's Asher Gamedze, he's from South Africa. How's this ever going to work? But we did. He was available. We got on stage for the first time. And I was like, you know what? And I was being treated kind of shady with on some bullshit. Y'all can read the album cover. And I was like, you know what? I'm finna talk about this on stage. I'm not going to sit and wait. And I went on stage, and let me tell you who was there. Jamie Branch was there. Her whole group. Jamie was there. Luke Stewart, I think, was there. Everybody was there in the audience. And then some told me, I'm finna go and tell the black family. And when Black Family came, when we started playing Black Family, and I started saying the black family is the strongest institution in the world, and I said, sing it with me, white people. And I saw people like resisting. Why is that hard for you to say? And that's when it was enraging me even more. I was like, that shouldn't be hard for you to say. And I could feel their inner resistance. They didn't want to say it. And I started screaming. And then a few white people did start saying, the black family is a strong. And I was like, yes.
Oh my
but
God,
the
that's
fact
amazing.
that you was resisting showed me where it was at. Why is that resistance? So definitely play that there. For whatever reason, that makes white people uncomfortable. And I'm interested in why. So I push it even more. They should be saying that. They think I need to say that affirmation. No, you need to say that affirmation.
Yeah. But that's the thing at the Constellation show that I was saying to the audience after you played it. I was like, you can't grow without being uncomfortable. We all know that. That's the only way to for any type of personal growth, or even as a country, or even as a community. The only way you can grow is to be uncomfortable. And I think you're actually doing something very generous. In my mind, Angel, you're doing something incredibly generous in that you are being honest with people. That's generous. They don't, not everybody deserves honesty, but that is a generous thing. And people, it's up to people to do what they're going to do with it. That's not your job, but you are being, I just want to say, you as a black woman are being very generous in my mind when you do that with people.
I'm being easy. I'm like, look, y'all are making me uncomfortable, and the thing that I find, what ends up happening, as much as whatever uncomfortability it is, what I have after my shows is always love. It's always people coming up to me. If it's a white person, they're in tears. If it's a black person, they're in tears, and they come up to me and they're like, thank you, Angel. I didn't even know. And so sometimes I do it because some people may not be in the space where they can be that vocal. They may have to think about their job. They may have to think about their families. It's scary. What am I going to lose for speaking up? What kind of persecution?
Especially right now.
And, and so like, I also do it for my people to know like, hey, this is your throat chakra. And look, I just did it. And guess what? I didn't explode. And nothing bad happened. In fact, something really good happened. And I think it just is it's just a way of showing people like, look, it's okay to be uncomfortable and talk about things and work it out. On my tour in January, I was at a college and we was having a jam session. I saw these Haitian young black students there, and I know how they feel in France. I know they're over. I felt it. So called them on stage and we went in.
Wow.
We was jamming. And I know her, this, she was Arabic, but she was white presenting. She gonna get up on stage. And granted, the guy gave her the mic, but then she gonna get up and start singing like a black woman. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to make this girl uncomfortable. Damn, I had to do it though. I took the mic from her and I told her, hey, when you come into these type of black cultural settings, I don't feel comfortable with you singing like that, especially because you're upstaging these 3 young sisters who never get to sing. Of course, she ran off, cried. Her friend came in, a young man, turning up on me. You made her cry. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, there we go again. You know, and so now I have to baby the whole situation. Now I'll give her credit because she came back and she's like, no, Angel, I really want to learn like what happened. And I give her credit for that. But while we're mending and we're talking about it, her friend, I don't know what it is about some men and a black woman being powerful that they feel he turning up on me, like almost about to fight me.
Wow.
And I'm like, you really want to, where I was like, look, you gonna have to bring that energy down because I ain't the motherfucking one. And then who's made to look like the angry person in that situation?
Yeah.
Me. When he's sitting here giving me this energy and me and the girl are having, and she's like, please stop. You know, but just because I quote unquote made her cry, see, that's the thing that happens too. When you do these, I don't like doing this because I'm a Libra, I don't like conflict. But when I did that, do you know all the BIPOC students and one white student after that came up to me and they were like, thank you.
Yeah, it's probably life-changing.
We thank you for, because they wanted them radical schools anyway, French schools, you know, and it needed to happen because I wanted them to see it. And so what looked like a bad, uncomfortable, it actually was healing. Me and that girl hugged afterwards. She says, I have a better understanding now. Thank you.
Exactly.
And I told her, you have a beautiful voice. You should sing more of your Arabic music. Get more into your culture. Bring that to the blacks. Don't try to be black.
Yeah.
Be Arabic in the black music. That's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
Get more into that because I could hear it. I could hear it in her voice, you know? So anyway, all that testimony.
I do want to go back because you mentioned education and so much of what we're kind of talking about here and sort of the purpose of this conversation for me is to kind of share like the work that people are doing, not only in their musical work, because obviously you're doing so much, you're doing so much from the stage by talking. Obviously this is kind of an educational setting, but especially in your local community in Chicago, where I know you're so invested. You know, a lot of musicians, they're on tour all the time. They're not that invested in their communities, but you are very special in that you are very invested in your community. And you said, okay, one of my questions for everybody on this podcast was like, what's our job right now? What are we doing? You said, we're going to prepare for when all these old white men die. We're going to be ready. We're going to be ready for the revolution. And you're getting folks prepared and you're connecting that to education. So I want to know, one, about your education work in Chicago with kids. I know you also mentioned to me when we were in Chicago about working with adult women as well, who are single mothers, and also your mentorship through like places like Tell Me About the Black Room. Like, just tell me about your work in Chicago and how you are getting the folks ready for that moment in your community when it's time to do the revolution. Yeah,
it's time. And Amirtha, can we pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
Because I have a meeting at 12. I'm gonna tell them 12:30. Give me 1 second.
Okay, if it's okay. Yeah, if it's okay.
Hold on 1 second.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Do you think you
know,
have?
I got a new album coming out with Naima Nefertari, who's the granddaughter of Don Cherry. And we got a new album coming out next week. And so I got an interview for that, which is also very woman empowered because we recorded that whole album ourselves. We arranged it ourselves. It's very amazing. But anyway.
Wow. But, no, if you're a little flexible, I do want to just know about, I want folks to know about what you are doing in Chicago, because part of this is about, we want to learn from each other. So, you know, what you're doing in Chicago, we could be doing here in Red Hook and Brooklyn.
Come on.
And so tell me about your work with children, with Black women, with this new kind of space in Chicago, the Black Room. Just tell me about your education work, because I just think you're such a powerful educator. You're such a powerful organizer, and I think education is organizing.
Absolutely.
Right?
To be a creative musician, especially a Black creative musician in this realm, we don't have the option of not having an education leg. I can't speak for other cultures or anything, but for us, you know, when I think of my career, I think of it in three ways. Business, in the middle is the creative, it's like a little sandwich. Business, in the middle is the creativity, all that stuff, and education. So like my business got to be on point, because that's where we always get fucked over to, and then education. And so I was very intentional in making sure that I was in the community. You know, I'm very intentional that whatever skills I have, I bring it into the schools. Mentorship, I've always encouraged younger generation under me. I knew a bunch of them. There's a performing arts school here in Chicago called Shy Arts, and the massive amount of young talent, like multi-instrumentalists that come out of there, and a group of them I met, and I've been in their lives for a while. And one young lady by the name of Camila Vick, she didn't go to Shy Arts, but she was all friends with them, and she's an incredible artist herself. And at just barely 24, she has a space that she's created on the west side of Chicago called the Black Room. And it's a business, meaning like it's a open membership. You can get a membership there to use the facilities any way you want. They host wonderful events. It's on the west side. I mean, and they just the coolest bunch of young adults I know. And so that's one place where I do a lot of work with. I also started a residency. I became a fellow of United States Artist Fellow this year, which granted me a really nice fellowship. And I knew the first initiative that I had to do when you get a blessing is you have to give. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, a part of this has to go to some organization that I feel is important. So I giving myself my time, finances to supporting the Black Room. And I also felt like I needed a residency for Black women specifically. There's things that Black women go through that, I mean, you have to be a Black woman to even talk about it. And I was just noticing on and on, like just running into so many Black women who we were just all saying the same thing. And I'm like, well, where is a place where we don't have to deal with not just race, but misogyny, sexism, colorism, all sorts of isms. Like, what would our art look like if we could be our expansive selves without having to think about it? And that's what I'm trying to do. And so, like, we have our first artist in residence there by the name of Eva Supreme. She's a credible vocalist, musician. She's also my manager, and we also perform in several different bands and ensembles around the city. And like I said, I was on tour in January with her. And as we were on, this is my friend, my sister. She's in Sistazz and the Nitty Gritty as well. Mm-hmm. You know your friends, but then all of a sudden she was telling me, well, I had this idea to do this, and I wanted to do this. And I was like, whoa, Eva, you got so many great things. And what I heard in the back of my head is, where can you reside? Where can you develop these things? And where's the support you can get from other Black women? And I'm like, where would she go? I was like, I have to start a residency for Black women. Because that
did not exist.
It doesn't exist. Yeah. Specifically. And then, so like, it's like, I was like, we'll start, I'll get one Black woman a subscription for a year at the Black Room. and then the black room, Camila's like, of course she can use this facility, she can use the space, I'm going to give her keys, and so we're going to set the tone. And then I'm also reaching out to other black women to start this board with me. Let's start this board, and let's give Eva everything that she needs to be supported, the stuff I didn't get that I felt like I wanted. Sorry, get emotional.
No,
you
it's
think
amazing.
about it, when you think about like what would it look like if I got that kind of support, of just people like, what is it that you want to do? There's never a no. There's always like, let me look into it. What else do you want? Think big, and we gonna do our best to make it happen, because I've been on boards where, once again, like I said, racism, misogyny, men y'all carry that. Sometimes men carry misogyny. You don't even know you carrying it. And you do something like really misogynistic, and I call you out on it, and you feel like, but I didn't mean to. I was like, yeah, but you did it. And you didn't even realize you did it.
Like, so when you've been on other boards,
oh
like
my gosh,
for other institutions.
I've left boards.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, there's just too much. Black women are not feeling safe to be their expansive self. And sometimes there isn't a receipt of like, well, when you did this and you did, there's no receipts. It's just like, we feel that way. And so I wanted to create a space that's as safe as possible for black women. And we're starting with Eva Supreme as our first artist in resident at the Black Room. You guys can go to theblackroom.org and please support them. You can make donations there. And we'll also be announcing the residency. And because what the goal is, after we support Eva, this wonderful black woman artist this year, next year we want to open it up for other black women artists. You know how many black women have like given up on their dreams because I became a mother, I gotta raise my children, which brings me to also work at Simpson's Academy for Young Women, which is a school for teen mothers. And that started with a program with Carnegie Hall called the Lullaby Project. And this is such a beautiful project where they send composers and musicians to teen mothers, and we construct and compose lullabies for their babies. When you talk about the most gorgeous program, and it was so beautiful because these young women go through so much shame, so many things, worrying about their baby's father and how they're going to support their, my youngest student might have been 13. And you know what? Even though sometimes some of them go through it, you also know that there's some people who have support. They have, some of them are coming from really great families who are like, hey, we're going to work this out. So it's not always like that, but most of the time it is like that. And just giving them space to write songs for their children. And when I did it, and this is a program that goes to Old Town School of Folk, we were like, we got to make sure that we're consistent, because that's another thing. I don't want to be just that, well, we did a program, see y'all later. Yeah. That never sits well with me either. I'm like, no, I got to keep coming back. And so we've done a few workshops there a few times a year called the All About Love Project. And that's where we've taken Bell Hooks' book, All About Love, and Lauryn Hill's album, The Miseducation of Lauryn. Let me tell y'all, when you combine those together,
oh my God,
it just worked. And I don't give credit. I give credit to Jada Amina Harvey, who works at Old Town School of Folk, and she came up with that. And we have a cohort that we've been doing it for a while. And let me tell you, I got testimony after testimony of how it's changing these young women's lives. To me, it's like I get two for the price of one. I get two generations. I get the mama and the baby, And so that's another place where I work. And then also I started a few years ago during the pandemic, my Great Black Music class. And that term, Great Black Music, I do get that from the AACM. And I want to clarify
Art
too.
Ensemble,
I rep AACM,
Chicago.
but I want to let you know I'm not in AACM. I just want to be clear, because I don't want nobody coming back saying Angel is saying I'm not. I'm just an admirer, and I can't tell my story without talking about how inspirational they are. And I know a lot of AACM members. And but I just wanted to clarify that. So the Great Black Music, that was always my definition of what comes out of us, because I don't believe in these genres. I don't believe it's called gospel or jazz or whatever you want to call it. It's called Great Black Music. What does that mean? Well, it's music coming out of a black person. It's always going to be great. Okay, that's my definition. I don't know if that's ACM's, but that's mine. And so I started this Great Black Music Initiative because during the pandemic, through Old Town, they also have another program called Music Moves that's ran by Arif Smith. He's a great organizer in the city. He's also in Black Monument Ensemble with me. And I was like, Arif, I need to be in the community. He's like, say less. And when he said that, he meant what he said, because there's so much work. He always calling me, Angel, we got this, da, da, da. And during the pandemic, they were working with JTDC, which is Juvenile Detention Center here, with incarcerated young men. And they's like, we want to do a music Zoom class. I'm like, how is this going to work? They got on masks.
God,
but it was it was hard, not because of them, but just, to be in that and then to see them. It pretty much just became like a music lecture series. And I started just showing them past, present, future of what Black music looks like. And we started with the present. The first one was like, who are the Black composers of today? And they were like, I'm like, it's Little Durk, it's G Herbo. These are our current Black music composers. Now, whether you agree with what the nature of some of their music is and all the gang stuff, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these are Black composers. And so what I did was I was like, well, you need to go a little deeper, because I can't play all that stuff in class, and do some research. And so I was able to find out things about Lil Baby and G Herbo and some of them, and find lyrics in their songs that I could play that were empowering. And also I wanted them to know the reason why some of them are blessed financially is because they give. Like, people don't know that Lil Baby, I don't think he even graduated from this high school, like donated thousands of dollars to his old high school. G Herbo, who admittedly says he has PTSD from being raised in a gang violent area.
Yeah.
He has PTSD, and he wrote an album called PTSD, and he started mental health facilities in his community.
Wow.
To help young men with PTSD. So like when I was highlighting these things, they were like, yo, that's interesting. And then also showed them the power of the music of today. I showed them videos of Japanese artists doing trap music, Polish artists doing, I was like, look at that.
It's global.
They want to be you.
It's
so
global,
this was like,
and people resonate with that, with the message of the music, like with, people, Black music is global.
It's global, and it's lucrative. It makes a lot of money, except the people who making it ain't making the money,
Right.
But what I did find with the students, and even the warden, she was on some bullshit. What I did find, too, because we're talking about present music, then we started talking about Afrofuturism. I don't really like that word, but we talked about AI and all of that. They love that. But here's where I was finding interesting. When I started talking about the past, Miss Lady, we love you and everything, but this is boring. We don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And I know why, though, because who wants to hear? You're incarcerated, and I got to sit up here and talk about slavery with you.
Right.
But the roots of this music, I can't ignore it. And so, like, that's also another thing. How do I be sensitive enough to know that, like, everything that comes from us ain't oppression? I have to teach it. But and then even the warden, she's like, all the other stuff, he was cool. She actually had I was like, Miss Lady, look, I don't care if these boys are bored or not. Let me tell you where are they gonna go? I'm the teacher. And I told him that. Like, we don't have, I was like, you can go to sleep, you can do whatever you want, but you finna hear this, because where are you gonna go? You're locked up. So whatever I'm pouring out, you're gonna have to sit and listen to it. But done. I don't care. You ain't gotta be attentive. Go
and you're
over
connecting
there.
the dots.
But I'm finna do this.
From the ancient to the future, right? That's the second part of the great of art ensemble, great Black music, from the ancient to the future.
And so we need
to
work
connect
on
the dots.
that, like being able to teach that ancient part in a way that doesn't depress them already, because they're already going through too much. And we want to hear how we have victory. We want to hear how we overcome. We don't want to hear how, like, motherfuckers were just lynching our ancestors. Sometimes I don't want to hear about it, but it's like such a necessary ingredient to that. So there's that. But then the class started with that. And then once the pandemic hit, Arif was like, let's try it in some after school programs. And so I work at a place called Imagine Inglewood If, which is a beautiful, peaceful place in Inglewood. Now, when you hear Chirac and bang, bang, shoot 'em up, Inglewood is tied to that narrative, unfortunately. Okay. But what they don't know is that with all of that going on, kids, we've heard gunshots around there. There's this beautiful places all over the South Side that are safe for children. So I've been developing the course there, and the course isn't just to be in the community. It's also my research, because eventually one of my goals is to have my own music school that is specifically catered to Black children. No offense, white children. I will teach you, but I probably won't. You know, like, unless I know your mama and daddy, like, Angel. But because the thing is, white children, you're going to be okay. All right. You're going to be all right without Miss Angel's teaching. You're going to get opportunities. You're probably going to live, not saying everybody, I'm generalizing, but you're probably going to live in a neighborhood that can afford for your school to have a band, that can afford your school. I lived in those type of neighborhoods. I'm where I'm at because I had band at school, orchestra,
public school,
chorus.
100%.
I had opportunities because I lived in the
Me
South.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the inner city here, they close schools.
Yeah.
There's just empty school buildings with full
Chicago's
band
so
rooms
tough.
and everything. And most of the schools don't have full band programs. So as me, I'm going to put Black children first. My grandmother did it. She was superintendent of the school board in Louisville, Kentucky. This thing comes from my lineage. I'm for Black kids first. And what I feel is there needs to be a need for Black children pedagogical practices. So I also intend on writing and researching it, and in the spirit of Miss Ella Jenkins. See, that I know most people don't even know Miss Ella Jenkins. Rest in peace. She just passed away last year at 100 years old.
Yep.
And the thing about it, what I did at Imagine Inglewood, because I knew her 100th birthday was coming, we made our summer camp all about her. And let me tell you, I don't care how old these songs are, children still love them.
Yeah.
People think inner city kids just want to hear it. No, they're children. If I play Mary Had a Little Lamb, they're going to be like, you don't have to make it like that. And I was doing it with teenagers. They love Miss Ella Jenkins' music still. It's timeless. Yeah. And so we learned a bunch of her songs. We even did a performance about her. And I'm so glad we did it while she was alive, because little did we know she would pass away. But in the spirit of Miss Ella Jenkins, how she really worked on like very important pedagogical Black practices, like call and response. That's how you teach anything. Call and response, and that's very Black and cultural. I can teach children the blues without saying, well, the blues means you're sad. See, that's the kind of fucked up shit that they be doing. I'm like, the blues is never meant sad. Can it be sad? No, the blues is emotional.
Expression, exactly.
It's expression and emotional. Yeah. Okay? Emotions can go from this to that to that. But like, if you a white person, well, this is the blues scale. I don't show them the blues scale. I sing it, and then they sing it back, and then you know it.
That's it. Yep.
And if you want to put an instrument and hear it out, and then I'm going to show you the notes, what it look like on the page. You know, so this type of approach, I'm trying to craft a more a pedagogical book, also craft more children's songs, also want to work on a children's show, because I have so many parents who are Black parents who are struggling to find educational resources, music resources for their children that's not problematic. Okay? Yeah. They want, where's the Sesame Street of the day? So, I mean, these are the things that I love performing. I love composing. I love touring. It's fun. But these are the things where I know, but those things that I just said are not sustainable for an independent Black artist. It's not. Right. But education is. And even it's not necessarily like the bag, it's the bag for fulfillment for me. Because at the end of the day, when I'm sitting there and I got one of my little babies on my lap, and we're singing a song to help them learn how to get through their anxiety, I'm like, how you doing today? And we learn some little thing, and then I go home and I lay in my bed. I feel satisfied and fulfilled. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel satisfied.
It's not just a hustle for you. It's purpose.
I know,
and it's an investment in your community.
That is where my blessing is.
Yes.
You know, like all the other stuff ain't gonna be blessed if I don't give back to my community in some way on all levels. And then one last thing I do is I also teach through Old Town a program called Fireflies, which is a very early education program from infant to about 3 years old. And so for the past few Saturdays for a year, this is such a beautiful Saturday. I get to wake up.
Wow.
And go and play music with little tiny babies who have been, and we do focus on trying to get to the west side and the south side to give those babies and parents, but we have children of all races come, and just to see us all, before all of this stuff happens of this world we live in, and I see all the babies, I just see little babies, and I want to be a part of their early musical experience. And it's a blessing and an honor to do that every Saturday. And we call it Fireflies because we base it off of the Earth, Wind, and Fire songbook.
Yes.
They're such an incredible Chicago band. So, at the end of every jam session, and it's so fun and cute and beautiful, parents come, we have a good time. We always sing, keep your head to the sky, and we clap and we sing, and the parents always tell them, look, parents, you can't just be here, you won't have to do this at home too. I'd be like,
you're
parents,
teaching the parents
if you hear
as much
music,
as you're teaching the kids.
Children don't want. The big thing that I've learned about education is children and students don't do what you say ever. They're not. Y'all need to do it. They're gonna do the opposite. They do what you show. You have to show kindness. You have to show gratitude. You have to show that when music moves you, you gotta move. And so I take that time to always be expressive. I show them it's okay to move your bodies. And then you'll see them do it. And then this is a testimony. One parent, she came up to me last week, and she's like, I just want to let you know, I was walking past, my baby was in his room playing, and I heard him going,
Wow.
And I was like, that's the satisfaction. Like, come on now. I don't care about no fucking Grammy. I don't care. Thank y'all. Listen, thank you all for all the support, and thank you for putting me on. That's lovely. But ain't nothing like that.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing like hearing that.
And that's
I've done my job.
And that's not liberation, right? That's like,
right.
These are these kind of these markers of success in capitalism. But what you're doing is liberatory. It's investing in the community, not just with money, but with time, with your wisdom, with the wisdom that you got from your elders. Ella Jenkins was not just an educator, right? She was not just a musician. She was an organizer. She was an activist. And for me, this is really what I'm feeling like. In this time, it's very dark. It feels very dark, but it's been dark, right? Like we talk about fascism. It's like, guess what? Slavery was fascism. Jim Crow was fascism. All of that was fascism. Breonna Taylor, no-knock warrant getting shot in her bed is fascism. It's not new in America, right? And it
didn't go away. It's running right now as we speak.
And it's growing, right? It's getting bigger. But for me, what's inspiring about you, and I know we got to wrap it up, is that you're a living example of how music is a survival strategy, and you teaching that survival that has this long lineage, right? Not just through oppression, but through liberation and joy and all these things. You're teaching children, young adults, your audience, your listeners, how to survive in this really radical way. And that's why, to me, it's like, I feel very similar about being an educator, an organizer, an activist, a musician. They're not separate.
No, they all go hand in hand. And, I keep on bringing up these words, fulfillment, sustainability. And those have to be the two things running. What sustains you? And are you fulfilled? Figuring that out. And that can look like all sorts of different things. Fulfillment could be, me being on a canoe for 2 years in the middle of Tanzania would be fulfilling for me right now. If it's that, then you need to start thinking about making that your goal. Okay? And that goes across the board for everyone, because that's what I did. I knew that I wanted to be an artist at a very young age. And my dad, I love my parents so much. The older I get, and we've had our ups and downs, but the older I get, I just appreciate the way they raised me. I do. They're really good people. And I remember about 9 years old, my Dad sat me and my sister down. And he was like, what do y'all want to do when you grow up in life? And I was like, put on the spot. I was like, I don't know. And my sister, she was like, I want to be a writer. And I was like, how do you know what you want to do? I looked at her like betrayed. I was like, how do you know that's what you want to do? And he looked at me and he's like, so what you want to do? And for whatever reason, see, I was obsessed with the Jackson 5. I was always obsessed with children doing music because I was like, oh, they could do it. And I loved the Jackson 5. So Michael Jackson popped in my head. And I was really obsessed with Man in the Mirror at the time. And I was like, I want to be a musician. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And, once my dad knew that, it wasn't like they were overtly, like, I didn't have them parents who like, they're going to show up to all the stuff. And they weren't like that. It was more like whatever I did that was good, they want us to be good people. Like, I think my mom would prefer I wasn't a musician at all because it terrifies her that I'd be traveling the world. Yeah. My mom was a sweet little Georgia girl and I'd be traveling all the world. But, whether I was traveling around the world doing all this or if I was working at Subway, as long as I'm a good person, I'm happy and I'm fulfilled and sustained, that's all they cared about, Yep. And so with that being said, do what's your heart's desire. Okay. Put that at the forefront first. Don't think about how it's going to happen. Just think, if you did this once a day, I wonder what it would look like if I did this. And don't be afraid to think. You can think about anything you want. The thing about it is, whatever you think about a lot, it's going to manifest. So if you think worry, if you think stress, why are you worrying? And look, I'm saying this not from a judgmental place because it's something that I deal with. But they're called unclean spirits. A lot of people talk about the spiritual realm. I'm going to talk about exorcism real quick, okay? In my world, exorcism means, or in the ancient worlds, they believed that spirits would come and embody other people, okay? They would come in there and now we call a lot of that stuff, they called it that. We call it mental illness, schizophrenia. We call it all these kind of things today. But what the ancients called it was like demons, But I'm going to call it unclean spirits, all right? We ain't got time for no unclean spirits. Okay, I don't. So when you interact with my music, I'm like fucking Lysol. All right, I'm like fucking Fabuloso. We're not doing that. Get out of here. And I'd be like, in Jesus' name, in Yeshua's name, because it's the name above all names. Motherfucking unclean spirits are scared of that name because it's the conviction. It's not necessarily the name. It's the conviction of people who believe in that name. It's their conviction that like, when I say this, you flee. Demons flee at that. Spirits flee. And so that means a daily dosage of spiritual renewal that you have to do in your life. I'm not speaking about religions here. I'm talking about like, just like you shower your body, you have to shower every day your mind, especially from white supremacy and any fascist movement. You're going to have to take a shower every day. You can't live in this and not have you reading some book that's elevating your consciousness, or you praying. Praying can be a religious act, but it's not religious. Prayer is a human thing, and it's definitely a black thing. We was praying before there was Christianity, Buddhism, anything. Black people always been praying. Yep. Okay? And all that means is you come and you center yourself and you're like, you know what? I prayed before this podcast. I said, I prayed that this would go well. I prayed for Amirtha today. I held her in my space. And when you hold people in your space, guess what? They're going to tell you what they need prayer for. Okay? They'll tell you. You can call people's higher self too. This is a trick that people don't know you can do. Let's say you're in a situation where you got the adversities and all this kind of stuff going on, and there's somebody who's trying you. Let me tell you what you can do. You can close your eyes and be like, I call forth your higher self. I'm only dealing with your higher person. And guess what? When you call forth somebody's higher self, they will come forth. And in your imagination, you have a conversation with them. Okay? And you say, hey, this is happening. I don't like it. Be honest. Tell them, even if you're mad at them, you need to cuss somebody out, cuss them out of your mind, right? And then when you're done, that's not where you don't stop there, because that venting, you get it out. And then what I need you to do after that is imagine the person's response. What could they say that could help you to this situation? Okay? Because that's what you're looking for. Now, let me tell you, when you put that in practice, you keep doing that. Do you know what the results are going to be when you actually do interact with that person? It's going to go your way. You know why? because I don't know what the other person did, but I know I was intentional that I only wanted to work with your higher self. And so then that's why when I have relationships and you're going to be tested. Okay. Like this thing that I'm telling you about, what you think it's just, okay, I'm just going to do that. No, you're going to be tested. Someone's going to annoy the fuck out of you. Someone's going to do something to press your button. And then that's your opportunity to put what I'm saying into practice and discipline. Everything that I'm telling you that I do comes from practice and discipline. What do they call physicians? They call it their practice, right?
Yep.
Musicians were the same way. We have to practice that. And the good thing about practice is you get better at it over time.
Yes.
That's why and pretty soon it just become part of your nature. You ain't even think about it. Like, as soon as I see some bullshit, I'm like, let me put my mask on. Let me get some hand sanitizer. We not doing this. We're not doing anxiety. That's an unclean spirit. We're not doing depression. That's an unclean spirit. We're not doing stress over anything. I prayed over it. I don't need to stress over shit. I prayed over it. That means when I come to it, it's finna go my way. Period. No one's going to stress me out. Okay? And then that's when they come, the little unclean spirits. They're like, hey, what's up? Get your smelly ass out of here. I'm practicing love.
But this is incredible. I like one of my last things that I'm going to ask a lot of folks on this podcast. This is it. Is how do we move into the future with hope? And that's the thing. You're saying it's a practice. Like I was on a panel with somebody and they said, we can't just keep talking about collective liberation if we can't actually imagine it, if we can't actually picture it. Like,
let's please imagine something else. I'm tired of this imagination.
We have to be able to picture it, and we have to practice that. That means you have to prayer is a manifestation of that. It's like you're imagining. It's a practice of like you're holding space for something, for a vision, and you're putting all your energy and intention towards that. And I think that is the practice. You can do it alone. Like you're saying, you can do it one-to-one, like holding that with other people. You can do that in your community, and that reverberates out and out and out. And that's, like you're talking about smelly ass, like fascism is smelly ass.
It stinks. I'm
tired of capitalism,
We're not doing
patriarchy,
Take a shower.
Smelly ass.
You're not going to phase us anymore. And I think that's because I was thinking like, well, how do we move now? Our ancestors did the protesting. The 60s and stuff, they did that shit worked for back then. That don't work no more, y'all. Protesting ain't, no. Here's the thing. Because I read the Bible, I can only quote from the spiritual text that I know. And they say, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against spirits in high places. Okay? It ain't Donald Trump you looking at, right? If you don't like that fascist motherfucker. You looking at the spirit that's upon him. We're not fucking with it. Okay? Get out of here. We're not doing it. Get up out of here. Okay? These spirits hop on humans. Okay? And if somebody's unaware or if they're just in pure evil all the motherfucking time and they've gotten by on evil, it's not going to work over here. Jesus was the ultimate revolutionary. They killed him. They killed him. Okay?
I know, we talk
if he walked into a church right now, they would kill him.
Palestinian socialist, basically.
Listen, the Bible is a book. The Bible is a book for people who are oppressed. If you're not oppressed and you cool in this world, you don't need it. That is a book for oppressed people. That's why black folk gravitated to it, because we know what slavery's like.
But but they're trying to twist it around. They use it to oppress people too.
Well, I'll put it this way: the Bible is not personal. An evil person can put their hands on it, and a good person,
right.
Anyone can use it. Anyone can, and that's where it gets fucked up because it's not personal. Anyone can use that book any way you want. You can use it to harm people or heal people. Now, I'll tell you this: if you use it to harm people, woe to you. Woe to you. Woe to you. I'm scared for you. Mm-hmm. But if you use it for good, oh my goodness, you're looking at a blessed person right now. I'm blessed.
I was going to say.
I'm blessed, y'all.
I was going to say.
Ain't no oppression here.
I'm looking at a blessed person.
You're looking at a blessed. I'm looking at a blessed person too. I like
you.
blessing. I don't do it because I want to get blessed, but I do like blessings. I believe the word. If the word says, hey, blessed are the peacemakers, I want that blessing. And if you want to start reading, read them. Jesus had this Sermon on the Mount where he gave all these beatitudes, these blessings. And that message, I always thought about it. Here he is. He's got these thousands of people trying to listen to his sermon, right? And they're all oppressed. And he said, hey, guess what? You mourners, you're blessed. Not that it's a blessing to mourn, but no. If you've mourned, you about to get some comfort. Do you know how that might feel for somebody who's just grieving? And I'm grieving. I lost 2 of my sisters. I lost my 2 siblings.
It's
My
unbelievable.
sisters, my only sisters I have in right now. I'm in
so
a
sorry.
constant state of grieving. So when you read a message and someone gets on their mouth and say, hey, you who are mourning, you will be comforted. And it said, blessed are those who thirst and hunger for righteous living. If you thirst and hunger to live right, let me tell. So like when you hear the messages of people like Jesus, you know, and you hear how he was preaching, you know, if you hear the messages from Buddha and all sorts of religions, and they're saying something that resonates with you, however it resonates with you, that's what it is. Okay? That's what hit you. And so the Bible hits me a lot. I read it every day. And it's made me a wise person, and it will bless you. You ain't got to do it. Mama tell you if you do it, you going to be blessed.
Yeah, you could take it is a revolutionary message, and I just want to. I think we're gonna have to wrap up, but we've said before that we could get going for like an 11-hour conversation.
We need that. We need a part 2.
We will do a part 2, but it's a blessing to have you here. You have such a fierce and revolutionary spirit. We can all learn from the ways that you're moving through your community and how we can do that in different places. I'm going to be starting to teach a summer program here in Red Hook that our dear mutual friend Jamie Branch, another Chicagoan, another female band leader who passed away in 2022. She started working with the Red Hook Arts Project here in Red Hook, Brooklyn, but she passed away. So I'm trying to take up that mantle. And so just hearing from you about the power of education, of how to, and it's primarily Black children here in Red Hook.
You let me know. I'll pull up. And I mean that. I will
no,
just
really.
Pull up Amirtha. I've been meaning to go up to New York for a minute. Let's do this. Like wherever you need support, you know.
And just like
I will
to
just
get
pull
your wisdom.
the fuck up and let's do this. You don't have to do this alone. I'm saying that on air right now. That whatever initiatives you got going on in Red Hook, you be like, Angel, when? And I'll be like, this is the date and I'm coming.
Well, thank you so much, Angel. I'm going to take you up on that.
Yes.
And check out Angel Bat Dawid.
Congratulations to you, too, on this wonderful fellowship at Pioneer Works.
We're trying to share wisdom.
Organization. I'm glad that they're supporting amazing artists like you. You deserve it.
Thank you so much, Angel.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on Outernational, very first guest. And I can't wait to keep talking to you and to see you in New York and have an amazing next meeting in Chicago.
Yeah. Right. It's a busy day. Well, thank you again. Peace and love. Black family, 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 black families, black families, black families, black family, Turn Brother Julian up. That bass got a hit. Turn it up. Turn that shit up. Black family up. Black. The black family is the strongest institution in the world. The black family is the strongest institution in the world. Hey! The black family is the strongest institution in the world. Hey! help my people. It'll really help my people. It's so simple, y'all. Can you just say with me, the black family is the strongest institution in the world. Please affirm my family, please. The black family is the strongest institution in the world. Please affirm my family. The black family is the strongest institution in the world. When you see a black family say it, the black family is a strong institution. The black family is the strongest. Just say it. The black family is the strongest institution. Please, I'm begging you. Please, you don't want to help me. You don't want to help me. The black family is the strongest institution. You don't want to help me. All you have to say is, the black family. Please, help my people. Help me. The black family is the strongest institution in the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The black family. Affirm my family. Affirm my family. Affirm my family. It's so easy. My family is the strongest. The black family. Affirm my family. You don't love us. You don't love us. All I'm asking you is to say the black family is the strongest institution in the world. Don't smile at me. Say the black family is the strongest institution in the world. Thank you.
We came here on boats. We came over on boats.
Thank you.
We came over on boats.
Thank you. Thank you.
We came
Thank
over
you. It
on
means so
boats.
much to me.
We
Thank
came
you.
over
Affirm
on
my
boats.
family. Affirm
We
my
survived
family.
400 years of oppression.
Affirm my
We survived
family.
400 years
What
of
did we do?
oppression. We
What did we
survived
do?
segregation.
What did we do?
We survived
All you have to say is we
racism.
strong.
We prevail. We
All you have
prevail.
to say is we
We
strong.
prevail.
The black family.
We
The black
prevail.
family.
We prevail.
Affirm
We
my
prevail.
family. I see you don't want to affirm my. Why do you hate us so much? What did we do? Why you hate us so much? All you have to say is the black family is the strongest institution in the world. Is that too much to ask? Affirm my family. You don't want to affirm my family. And it hurts my soul. What did we do?
The black family is the strongest institution in the world. The black family is
What's wrong with me?
the black
You
family.
don't love me. You don't love my
The
family.
black family is the black family.
We need you to affirm us. I need you to affirm black people. I need you to uplift us in your heart, in your mind, in your soul. We're human beings. I'm just human. I'm just human. I'm just human. But we're going on a journey. Because there's some questions that we have to ask. I have to ask the children. I have to ask the children. Yes, you young man. I'm finna tell you some things about children that look like me. We got some serious questions to ask. What shall I tell them? What shall I tell them?